My ex put his wedding on my black card, then the hotel asked for my signature. The hotel manager found me 6 floors below my ex-husband's wedding rehearsal and asked why the bride was carrying a black card with my name on the account, was having coffee with a client in the lobby of Chicago's Bellwether Hotel when a silver-haired man in a navy suit approached our table. Ms. Mercer, he asked quietly. I'm Thomas Reed, the general manager. May I speak with you privately? His expression told me this was not about room service. Stepped behind a marble column near the elevators, Thomas lowered his voice. A wedding party upstairs attempted to charge the remaining balance of their event to your invitation-only account. The card was declined because the account is closed. My fingers tightened around my coffee cup. What wedding party? He hesitated. Grant Walker and Sloane Harper. Grant was my ex-husband. Sloane was the woman he had sworn was only an event consultant until I found her earrings beneath the passenger seat of his car. Their wedding was scheduled for the next afternoon. Thomas handed me a copy of the authorization letter. At the bottom was a signature that looked almost like mine. Above it, someone had written ***. Julia Mercer has agreed to cover all wedding expenses as part of a private family arrangement. ***. How much are they trying to charge? I asked. $78,416. I looked toward the elevators. Do not run the card again, I said. Preserve every document they gave you. Thomas nodded. And Ms. Mercer? Yes. The bride says you will change your mind when your daughter speaks to you. That was when the elevator doors opened. My 24-year-old daughter stepped into the lobby wearing a pale blue bridesmaid dress. When Natalie saw me standing beside the hotel manager, she stopped walking. Her face told me she already knew why I was there. Grant and I had been divorced for 4 months. The official reason in the court documents was irreconcilable differences. The real reason was that my husband of 22 years had decided my love, my reputation, and my credit were all marital assets he could continue using after he left me. Had met Grant when I was 26 and working as a junior purchasing analyst for a hospital network. He was charming in a quiet way, the kind of man who remembered the name of every bartender and never seemed to enter a room without knowing someone. Was organized. Grant was instinctive, built spreadsheets, he built relationships. For a long time, we believed those differences made us stronger. When I started Mercer Procurement Advisors in the spare bedroom of our first townhouse, Grant helped me call prospective clients after work. He designed my first business card and drove me to meetings when my 10-year-old Honda refused to start. The company grew slowly, then it grew quickly. By our 15th wedding anniversary, Mercer Procurement had 31 employees and contracts with hospitals, senior living groups, and regional manufacturers throughout the Midwest. Negotiated supply agreements. Grant handled client entertainment and business development. IT was never legally his company. I had used a small inheritance from my aunt and my own savings to start it, and the ownership documents had always remained in my name. Still, I treated our success as shared. Our accountant warned me about mixing personal and corporate expenses, ignored him more often than I should have. Grant had a company expense account, was also an authorized user on my personal premium charge card. The matte black card hotel employees recognized immediately. IT had no preset spending limit, though every charge still had to be approved based on history, credit, and account status. Grant loved that card, enjoyed the way waiters carried it carefully, enjoyed airport lounges, hotel upgrades, and the small silence that sometimes followed when he placed it on a table. I told myself it was harmless and why income had risen faster than his, and I knew it bothered him. The card made him feel that our success belonged equally to both of us. Looking back, I should have noticed when equality began to mean access without questions. The first warning came during our 20th year of marriage. My chief financial officer, Dana Ruiz, asked me about a $42,000 invoice from Harper & Lane Events. The invoice listed executive development workshops, private dining, and strategic hospitality consulting. I don't remember approving this, I said. Dana turned her laptop toward me. Grant submitted it under client retention. Grant was traveling that week. I called him. He answered from what sounded like a restaurant. The Harper invoice, he said. That was the leadership retreat. What leadership retreat? The one I arranged for the sales team. We didn't have a sales retreat. There was a pause, then he laughed. Julia, you attended the closing dinner. That dinner had 8 people and cost $5,000. The rest was venue preparation, consulting, and future event credit. Future credit for what? I'm walking into a meeting. Can we discuss this at home? We never discussed it properly. When he returned, he arrived with flowers and a detailed explanation involving cancelled reservations, non-refundable deposits, and a client who changed plans. I wanted to believe him. So I did. Harper and Lane belonged to Sloane Harper. At the time, she was 37, polished, ambitious, and skilled at creating expensive events that appeared effortless. She had organized our company's 20th anniversary gala. Grant introduced her to me that evening as the only reason this place looks respectable. Sloane laughed and placed one hand on his arm. You gave me a generous budget. I noticed the touch. I also noticed Grant step away from it. That small movement reassured me. For the next year, Harper and Lane received increasingly large contracts from my company. Grant approved most of them. When Dana objected, he said she was too rigid to understand relationship-based business development. When I asked for better documentation, Grant accused me of embarrassing him in front of my own employees. Either I have authority or I don't, he said. You have authority within a budget. I helped build this company. I know. Then why do you treat me like an employee? Because legally, he was one. I did not say it. That became a pattern in our marriage. Grant asked a question, removed the answer most likely to hurt him, then I called the remaining silence peace. The affair became undeniable on a Thursday night in October. Grant told me he was attending a supplier dinner in Milwaukee. At 11. A parking receipt appeared in our shared vehicle app. The car was at the Langham, Chicago. I called. He did not answer. I drove downtown. I did not storm through the hotel or demand room records. I sat in the lobby and waited. At 12:18, Grant stepped out of the elevator with Sloane. She wore his suit jacket over her dress, was holding her shoes. They stopped when they saw me. Grant's face changed first. Not into guilt, into irritation. Julia, what are you doing here? That question ended our marriage more completely than the sight of him beside her. He had lied, he had betrayed me, and somehow, my arrival was the inappropriate act. Sloane slipped on her shoes. I should go. No, I said. Stay. Grant moved between us. This is not what it looks like. What does it look like? We had too much wine after a client meeting. Which client? He did not answer. Sloane studied the floor. I looked at the jacket around her shoulders. Give him his coat. She did. Grant followed me outside. I in the car. He told me the affair had happened only twice. Later, it became 4 times. Then he admitted it had lasted 8 months. The financial audit showed it had likely begun more than a year earlier. I did not scream, did not throw his clothes onto the lawn, called Dana the next morning and asked her to suspend Grant's corporate access. Then I contacted an attorney named Priya Shah. Priya specialized in high-asset divorces and financial misconduct. During our first meeting, she asked one question that changed the direction of everything. Do you want to preserve the marriage, or do you want accurate information? I want both. You may not be able to have both. The answer made me angry, not because it was cruel, because it forced me to consider that truth and marriage had become competing interests. For 6 weeks, Grant moved between apology and resentment, said he had felt invisible beside my success, said Sloane listened to him, said the affair had nothing to do with money. Then the forensic accountant found $186,000 in payments from Mercer Procurement to Harper and Lane over 18 months. At least $94,000 could not be connected to legitimate company events. Some payments funded hotel suites, private dinners, spa packages, and travel. One invoice for a regional vendor summit corresponded with a 5-night trip Grant and Sloane took to Cabo San Lucas. They had not simply conducted an affair, they had submitted the affair as a business expense. When I confronted Grant, he focused on the language. You make it sound like I stole from you. You charged the company for a vacation with your girlfriend. Sloane was a company vendor. That does not make the hotel suite a conference room. He walked to the kitchen window. I contributed years of unpaid work when you started the company. You received salary, retirement contributions, bonuses, and equity-based performance payments. Not ownership. You signed the employment agreement. Because your lawyer said it was standard. It was standard. For you. That was Grant's deepest grievance. Our life was comfortable because my company succeeded, but the company's success also reminded him that the legal foundation belonged to me. The affair with Sloane gave him a place where he could present himself as the powerful half of our marriage. He paid, he chose the hotels, approved the contracts. Sloane saw the black card and assumed the status behind it was his, sometimes wondered whether Grant had begun lying to her before he began sleeping with her. The divorce settlement took 7 months. Grant wanted half the company. Priya showed that most of its value came from my separate premarital investment, retained earnings, and professional goodwill tied directly to my work. Still received a substantial settlement, kept his retirement accounts, received half the equity from the sale of our suburban home, also received $420,000 in cash, paid over 2 installments. In exchange, he waived any claim to Mercer Procurement, surrendered all corporate credentials, and agreed that I was not responsible for his personal or future business expenses. The agreement specifically required him to return or destroy every card connected to my accounts. During mediation, Priya asked whether he still possessed the black card. Grant removed it from his wallet and placed it on the conference table. There, he said. The symbol of Julia's great suffering. Priya slid it into an evidence envelope. I closed the entire account the following morning. Grant knew that. He signed a document acknowledging it. 4 months later, he tried to charge his wedding to the same account. Natalie stood near the bellwether elevators, watching me. She had Grant's dark hair and my habit of pressing her lips together when she was frightened. I walked toward her. Did you know he was using my card? Her eyes flicked toward Thomas. Can we talk somewhere private? Thomas led us into a small conference room off the lobby. Natalie sat across from me, still wearing the bridesmaid dress. The hotel had likely planned the rehearsal photographs around the color. Noticed a loose thread near her left shoulder, and my hand almost moved to fix it. Then I remembered she was not a child. What did your father tell you? I asked. That you agreed to pay. Why would I pay for his wedding? He said it was part of the settlement. It was not. Natalie looked at Thomas. The manager placed the authorization letter on the table. Ms. Walker, he said. The hotel received this document 6 months ago with the initial event contract. 6 months ago, Grant and I were still legally married, and Sloane had booked their wedding before our divorce was final. My daughter stared at the date. That can't be right. It was submitted electronically, Thomas said. The wedding party made an initial deposit of $25,000 using the same account. I looked at him. That charge went through? Yes. What was the merchant description? Bellwether Corporate Events. The description sounded familiar. Dana and I had questioned it during the audit. Grant claimed it was a deposit for a medical suppliers conference that was later cancelled. Our accounting records showed the amount would be applied to future corporate events. He had hidden his wedding deposit inside my company expenses. Did the hotel refund or transfer any part of that deposit? I asked. No. It remains applied to this event. Thomas looked uncomfortable. The total contract is $103,000. With the deposit, the remaining balance is approximately $78,000. Natalie's face lost color. Dad said the wedding cost $30,000. Thomas remained silent. I turned to my daughter. When did you learn about the wedding? 2 months ago. Did you know they booked it 6 months ago? No. Did you know the first payment came from my account? No. She looked at the authorization again. Maybe Dad thought the card was part of the corporate event credit. He submitted a letter with my forged signature. Natalie flinched. Could it be an electronic copy from something else? It does not matter where he copied it. I did not authorize this. She wrapped both hands around the edge of the table. Upstairs, her father was preparing to marry the woman who had helped break our family apart. Downstairs, her mother was refusing to pay for it. Understood the impossible position she believed she occupied. Also understood Grant had placed her there intentionally. Thomas said the bride expected you to speak to me. I said. Natalie looked away. What did they ask you to say? That canceling now would humiliate everyone. Anything else? That Dad's investors are at the wedding. What investors? He's opening an event venue with Sloan. I almost smiled at the predictability. Grant had lost access to my company and immediately created another business built around the person who had helped him misuse it. What does my card have to do with their investors? I asked. They think Dad is paying for the wedding. Then he should. Mom. The word carried more exhaustion than anger. She had continued calling me Mom after the divorce, but sometimes it sounded like a role she wanted me to perform rather than a person she wanted to understand. Dad says if the hotel cancels the rehearsal, the investors will walk away. Why? Because the wedding is supposed to demonstrate what Grant and Sloan events can do. The marriage was also a marketing event that explained the $100,000 contract. Grant was not only using my money to marry Sloan, was using my credit to launch their business. Did your father ask you to guarantee anything? I asked. No, Natalie. She looked down. He asked me to sign a letter saying the wedding expenses were part of the divorce settlement. My chest tightened. Did you? No, where is the letter? In my room. Do not sign it. I wasn't going to. Thomas stood. I need to return upstairs. Without payment, we will have to suspend the event services scheduled for tonight. Please follow your contract, I said. He nodded and left. Natalie stared at the closed door. Can't you give them until tomorrow? To do what? Find another card. If the hotel chooses to allow that, it is not my decision. You know Dad doesn't have $78,000 available. He received $420,000 in the settlement. He invested most of it. In the event venue? I think so. Then that was his choice. Natalie's eyes filled. People are already upstairs. I know. Grandma flew in from Arizona. Grant's mother, Patricia, had called me 3 times after the affair became public. Each time, she explained that Grant had made a terrible mistake because he felt diminished in our marriage. She never asked what his mistake had done to me. You are asking me to finance the wedding so other people do not feel uncomfortable, I said. I'm asking you not to destroy it. I did not book it. You closed the account 4 months ago. He thought the hotel had already authorized everything. That is not my responsibility. Natalie pushed back her chair. You always do this. Do what? Turn everything into a financial rule. The accusation hurt because it contained a piece of truth. When feelings became dangerous, I trusted numbers. Numbers stayed where I placed them. Numbers did not swear they loved me while using my company to pay for another woman's hotel room. What would you like me to do? I asked. Call the card company. And say what? That the charge is approved. It isn't. You can afford it. There it was. Grant's language had entered our daughter's mouth. Had more money, therefore, taking from me caused less harm. Natalie, would you ask a woman earning $50,000 a year to pay for her ex-husband's wedding to his mistress? That's different. Why? Because it would ruin her. And this would only disrespect me. She stood. I knew you wouldn't understand. I understand exactly why your father sent you. He didn't send me. The bride told the hotel I would change my mind when you spoke to me. Natalie froze. A small betrayal unfolded across her face. Grant and Sloan had told the hotel she could control me without telling her they had said it. I need to go, she whispered. Bring me the letter they asked you to sign. I don't want to be involved. You already are. She left without saying goodbye, returned to my client and apologized for the interruption. The client, a hospital operations director named Ellen Marsh, had watched enough from across the lobby to know something serious had happened. Do you need to reschedule? She asked. Yes. Then we'll reschedule. There was no curiosity in her voice, only kindness. I gathered my bag. By the time I reached my office, Dana had already pulled the bellwether records. The $25,000 deposit had been paid 8 months earlier. Grant submitted the invoice as an advance reservation for our annual healthcare procurement conference. The conference did not exist. The approval chain contained his electronic authorization and a second approval from an employee named Trevor Blake. Trevor had worked under Grant in business development. He left the company 2 weeks after I discovered the affair. Can we prove Grant knew the event was his wedding? I asked. Dana gave me a flat look. The attached contract says Walker Harper wedding. How did accounting miss that? The contract in our system does not. She placed 2 documents side by side. The hotel's original contract identified Grant and Sloan as the wedding clients. The file uploaded to our accounting platform replaced the first 3 pages with a fabricated corporate event agreement. The payment schedule remained the same. Someone had altered the contract. Trevor? I asked. His login uploaded it. Could Grant access his account? Grant administered the department. Dana sat back. There's more. She opened an email recovered from Grant's archived company mailbox. It was addressed to Sloan ***, deposit handled. Julia never looks at event details unless Dana complains. Once the full wedding balance hits, it will already be too late to cancel without losing everything. Sloan responded ***, you said the card could handle it. I am not standing at the front desk in my wedding dress while someone asks for another payment. Grant wrote ***, it can handle it. The account is effectively mine too. I read the sentence twice. Effectively mine. That belief explained more than the affair. Grant had never accepted the separation between sharing a life and owning another person's resources. Send everything to Priya, I said. Dana did not move. Julia, are you okay? No, it was easier than pretending. She closed the laptop. Do you want me to stay? Yes. Dana ordered lunch. Barely ate.at2 that afternoon. Priya arrived with a legal pad and the expression she wore when someone had turned a bad decision into useful evidence. The divorce judgment allows us to reopen issues involving concealed marital dissipation and fraud, she said. The hotel deposit was paid before the divorce and hidden during discovery. Grant disclosed an event credit. He disclosed a business asset. Not a wedding deposit. What happens now? We request records, notify the hotel that the authorization is disputed, and report the forged signature to the card issuer. I don't want police appearing at the wedding. Then do not invite them. I'm serious. So am I. Reporting fraud does not mean officers automatically interrupt the ceremony. It creates a record. She examined the hotel authorization. Did Grant sign this? The signature is mine. I asked whether Grant signed it. I don't know. Sloan may have. I had focused so completely on my ex-husband that I had almost forgotten the bride ran an event company and regularly managed contracts. What happens to the wedding? I asked. That is between them and the hotel. At 4, Grant called. I let it ring. He called again. Then Patricia called. Then Sloan. My phone filled with messages. Her making a scene. Can resolve this privately. Natalie is devastated. The hotel is threatening to close the ballroom. This is beneath you. Grant's 4th voicemail was the first one I played. Julia, call me immediately. There has been a misunderstanding with the Bellwether account. The deposit came from corporate event credit that was already paid. No one stole anything. I need you to authorize the remaining balance until Monday. I will reimburse the account once the investment funds clear. He still spoke as if the account existed. As if I could restore it by making a phone call. As if his wedding were an ordinary cash flow problem I was expected to solve. Save the message. At 5:30, Natalie returned to my office. She had changed out of the bridesmaid dress and into jeans and a sweatshirt. She placed a folder on my desk. The letter. I opened it. The statement said Natalie had personal knowledge that I agreed to provide up to $120,000 toward Grant's wedding and business launch as consideration for resolving the divorce without trial. The language was formal. Natalie could not have written it. Who prepared this? Dad's lawyer. His divorce attorney? No. A different one. The name at the bottom was Leonard Kane. Recognized it from the formation documents for Grant and Sloan events. Did Leonard explain what you were signing? I didn't meet him. Dad gave it to me. Did Dad say why he needed it? He said the hotel wanted confirmation from a family member. The hotel has not seen this? I don't think so. I handed the letter to Priya, who had remained in the room. She read it carefully. "This statement is false," she said. Natalie nodded. "Did your father tell you it was false?" Priya asked. "He said Mom had made promises during mediation that weren't included in the final paperwork." Priya looked at me. "No such promises were made." Natalie sat in the chair beside my desk. "I believe you." I had waited months to hear those words. They gave me less satisfaction than I expected. Believing me meant my daughter had to accept what her father was doing. What happened upstairs? I asked. The hotel suspended the rehearsal dinner. Did they cancel the wedding? They gave Dad until 10 tomorrow morning to pay the balance or reduce the event. Can he reduce it? The food and flowers have already been ordered. Sloan is saying the hotel should treat the deposit as full payment and sue for the rest later. That is not how contracts work. I know. Natalie pressed both palms against her knees. Dad told everyone you canceled the card today to punish him. The account has been closed for 4 months. I told him that. What did he say? That you must have reopened it for the hotel deposit to remain valid. Priya shook her head. The deposit was processed while the account was active. Closing the account does not reverse a completed charge. Natalie looked at me. Did you know the wedding was this weekend? No, I thought you did. Who told you? Dad. Of course, Grant had protected himself with opposite lies. Told the hotel I approved, told our daughter I knew. He told me nothing then. When the fraud surfaced, he positioned himself in the center of a misunderstanding created by everyone except him. Where is Sloan? I asked. At the hotel. Does she know about the altered corporate contract? Natalie hesitated. I don't know. Does she know the account was mine? She knew the card had your name on it. That answer mattered. Why did she think I would pay? Dad said you were embarrassed about the divorce and wanted everything handled quietly. Priya placed the false family statement inside a folder. This needs to be preserved. Natalie looked frightened. Am I in trouble? No, Priya said. You did not sign it. My name is typed on it. That is not your signature. Natalie turned toward me. I'm sorry I asked you to pay. I wanted to tell her it did not matter. It did, it hurt, I said. She nodded. I know. You assumed I should absorb the cost because I could. I wasn't thinking about the money. You were thinking only about the scene upstairs. Yes. That is how your father operates. He creates an immediate disaster so no one has time to ask who caused it. Natalie looked down. Did he always do that? I thought about school fundraisers, family vacations, business deadlines, and our home. Grant would make a commitment, then he would explain that refusing to support it would humiliate him. Yes, I said. I just didn't always recognize it. The next morning, the Bellwether lobby was crowded with wedding guests. Had no intention of returning to the hotel. Then Thomas called at 9:15. Ms. Mercer, Mr. Walker has provided another payment guarantee bearing your company letterhead. What does it say? That Mercer Procurement Advisors will cover the event as a promotional partnership with Grant and Sloan Events. I did not authorize it. We assumed that. Our counsel would like you or your attorney to confirm in writing. Send it to Priya. There is something else. He lowered his voice. The document contains your electronic signature and an insurance certificate issued to your company. That was more serious than an old card. A forged corporate guarantee could expose my business to liability beyond the wedding bill. I'm coming in, I said. Priya met me at the hotel. Dana joined us with our information security consultant, entered through a side conference entrance to avoid the guests. Thomas brought us into an administrative office. The new guarantee looked professional. Mercer Procurement's logo appeared at the top. My signature had been copied from a recent vendor agreement. The insurance certificate was genuine but outdated. It had been issued for the company anniversary gala Sloan organized 2 years earlier. The metadata showed the document had been created on a laptop using a Harper & Lane software license. Priya pointed to the date. This was created last night. Thomas folded his hands. The bride personally delivered it this morning. So Sloan knew. Grant may have begun the deception, but she had chosen to continue it after the card failed. What did you tell her? I asked. That our legal department needed direct confirmation from Mercer Procurement. Did she know I was downstairs yesterday? Yes. Then she knew the card was disputed. Thomas nodded. We will not accept the guarantee. What happens now? The wedding party has provided $35,000 from other sources. We offered a reduced event package within that amount. What does reduced mean? Smaller ballroom, limited menu, no premium bar, fewer floral installations, and cancellation of several guest suites. The original event had been designed for nearly 200 people. Grant could still get married, simply could not pretend he had a $100,000 budget. Did they accept? I asked. The bride did not. Priya looked at me. That is not your problem. Thomas placed the forged guarantee in an evidence folder. Ms. Harper has asked to speak with you. No good, Priya said. Thomas almost smiled. We're preparing to leave when raised voices reached the hallway. The office door opened. Grant walked in with Sloane behind him. Thomas stood. You cannot enter this area. Grant ignored him. He looked at me. This has gone far enough. He wore a custom gray suit without a tie. The rehearsal, if it had happened, was over. The ceremony was less than 4 hours away. Sloane wore white trousers and a silk blouse. Her makeup was perfect except for a faint dark line beneath one eye. Priya stepped between us. Grant, all communication should go through counsel. This is a family conversation. You submitted a corporate guarantee this morning, I said. That makes it a business conversation. Sloane crossed her arms. The guarantee reflects the partnership Grant described. There is no partnership. He said your company was sponsoring our launch. My company is not sponsoring the business built by my former employee and his affair partner. Her face tightened. You don't need to be vulgar. I was precise. Grant looked at Thomas. Give us the room. No, Thomas said. Grant appeared shocked. He had spent years mistaking expensive spaces for places where he held authority. Thomas continued. You are not authorized to be in this office. If you refuse to leave, hotel security will escort you out. Grant turned back to me. I need 5 minutes. You have an attorney. I am talking to my wife. Ex-wife, Priya said. Grant's jaw tightened. Sloane touched his sleeve. Tell her the proposal. He inhaled. We reduced the balance to $60,000. You pay it today. On Monday, Grant and Sloane Events will sign a repayment agreement. No, you have not heard the terms. I heard enough. Julia, the investors are already here. Then explain your finances to them. This wedding is the launch. Your launch is not my obligation. Sloane stepped forward. You received everything in the divorce. That statement surprised me. What did Grant tell you I received? The house. The company. The investment accounts. The house was sold and the proceeds divided. Grant received cash, retirement assets, and half the equity. He gave up the company. He never owned it. He built it with you. He was paid for his work and received a settlement. Grant's face reddened. This is not the place to relitigate the divorce. You brought the divorce into the hotel when you claimed I promised to pay. Sloane looked at him. You said she agreed in mediation. Grant did not answer. Watched the first crack open between them, not because Sloane suddenly understood morality, because she understood he may have lied to her about money. Did you tell Sloane the hotel deposit came from a corporate conference account? I asked. Grant spoke quickly. It was event credit. It was a wedding deposit submitted to my company with altered documents. Sloane turned toward him. You said Julia had approved it before the separation. She knew we were using Bellwether. No, I didn't. Priya placed a hand on the table. We are not conducting an examination here. Grant ignored her. Julia, you can destroy my life or you can make one phone call. That is not a choice. It is a threat disguised as responsibility. Our daughter is upstairs. Natalie is not responsible for your wedding. You dragged her into this. You gave her a false statement to sign. Sloane stared at him. What statement? Grant's expression changed. That was the moment I realized Sloane did not know every part of the plan. Priya answered, a statement claiming Natalie witnessed Julia's agreement to pay for the wedding. Sloane's mouth opened. You asked your daughter to sign that? It was drafted as supporting information. Was it true? Grant looked at me instead of her. You made private commitments before mediation. No, you said you wanted a clean ending. A clean ending meant no public trial. It did not mean financing your next marriage. Thomas moved toward the door. This conversation is over. Grant's voice rose. If this event is cancelled, the hotel will lose money too. Thomas remained calm. The hotel has retained the lawful deposit and offered services equal to the funds available. You cannot humiliate us in front of our guests. The hotel did not submit an invalid card. The room went silent. Sloane walked out first. Grant followed her into the hallway. Before leaving, he looked back at me. You have always needed to win. No, I said. I needed you to stop spending what wasn't yours. The wedding took place that afternoon, not in the grand ballroom. The hotel moved it to a smaller room intended for corporate breakfasts. Only 80 guests could be accommodated. The premium bar became beer and house wine. The 12-piece band was replaced by a hotel sound system. The floral arch disappeared. Several guests who had flown in were told their suites were no longer covered. Grant's mother paid for her own room and later complained to Natalie that I had made an elderly woman sleep without dignity. Patricia's room still cost $400 a night. Sloane wore her wedding dress. Grant wore his suit. They exchanged vows, did not attend, spent the afternoon in my office with Dana, Priya, and the forensic accountant. The hotel embarrassment was not the real reversal, the documents were. The forged guarantee led us back through Harper & Lane's invoices, found that Grant and Sloane had created two versions of several event contracts. Clients received one, MY company received another. The differences were described as consulting fees, change orders, and venue credits. Over 2 years, Mercer Procurement had paid approximately $312,000 more than the documented value of the services received. Some money funded legitimate events, some went towards Sloane's condominium, some paid the deposit on the future Grant and Sloane events venue, and some had been transferred into an account controlled by Grant. The account did not appear in his divorce disclosures. Priya filed an emergency motion to preserve the funds. A judge ordered the account frozen until a hearing could determine whether it contained concealed marital or corporate assets. The balance was $148,000. The investors at the wedding learned about the frozen account within a week. One withdrew, the other demanded audited financial statements before proceeding. Grant and Sloane could not provide them. Their venue deal collapsed. Grant blamed me publicly. He posted a long statement online saying his powerful ex-wife was using corporate lawyers to punish him for finding happiness, described the wedding card dispute as an administrative error, that I had approved the event before changing my mind at the last minute. Dana advised me not to respond. Priya agreed. Natalie did not. She posted one sentence beneath his statement, ***, the account had been closed for 4 months. And I refused to sign Dad's false letter saying Mom agreed, ***. Grant deleted the post within 20 minutes. Screenshots continued circulating. That night, Natalie called me. I shouldn't have done that, she said. Probably not. I was angry. I know. He called me disloyal. What did you say? That he taught me family loyalty meant helping people hide things. I sat on the edge of my bed. The condominium felt quiet around me. After selling the family home, I had moved into a 3-bedroom unit overlooking Lake Michigan. Grant called it cold. I had chosen it because the windows filled the rooms with morning light. Are you okay? I asked. No, do you want to come over? Yes. She arrived with an overnight bag. It was the first time she had stayed with me since the divorce, made grilled cheese sandwiches after midnight. Natalie sat at the kitchen island wearing an old college sweatshirt. Did you know he was going to marry her? She asked. I knew they were still together. He told me he was waiting because he didn't want to hurt you. I spread butter across another slice of bread. He booked the hotel 8 months ago. I know. She stared at the counter. That was before you filed for divorce. Yes. He asked her to marry him before you knew about the affair. The sentence hurt more than I expected. Had known enough to stop loving the version of Grant I married. Had not known he was planning another marriage while still sleeping in our bed. Did Sloane know you didn't know? Natalie asked. I don't know. She says Dad told her you had an open marriage. I turned from the stove. What? She told me at the reception. I laughed once. The sound came out sharp. Grant had not merely told Sloane our marriage was ending, he had told her I had consented to its replacement. Did you believe her? I think she believed him. That did not make Sloane innocent. She continued submitting invoices. She delivered the forged corporate guarantee after learning I disputed the account, but it explained why she had expected me to pay without shame. Grant had built separate realities for each woman. To me. Sloane was a vendor. To Sloane. I was a wealthy wife quietly permitting Grant to move on. To Natalie. The affair began after the marriage had already ended emotionally. To the hotel. I was the sponsor. To investors. Grant was a successful executive using his own resources. Every reality placed him at the center and someone else at the cost. I feel stupid, Natalie said. You trusted your father. So did you. Yes. Does that make you feel stupid? Sometimes. She looked at me. What do you do with that? Try not to turn another person's dishonesty into evidence that I am incapable of judgment. She considered the answer. That sounds difficult. It is. The civil hearing took place 6 weeks later. Grant's attorney argued that the hidden account contained income earned after separation. Our accountant traced much of it to inflated invoices paid by my company before the divorce. Sloane's attorney argued she had provided legitimate services and relied on Grant's statements. The judge did not decide every question that day. She ordered a full accounting and kept the funds frozen. The forensic review took 4 months. It showed that Grant received direct payments from Harper & Lane while still employed by Mercer Procurement. Some were labeled referral commissions. Our employment agreement prohibited undisclosed vendor kickbacks. Sloane had also paid personal expenses for Grant, including jewelry, travel, and a luxury watch he wore during divorce mediation. Grant claimed the payments were loans. There were no loan documents. The strongest evidence came from an old voicemail. Dana found it archived in the company's cloud phone system. Grant had called Trevor, the employee whose login uploaded the false hotel contract. Trevor did not answer. Grant left a message. Use the corporate version, not the wedding version. Julia only needs to see bellwether credit. Once the divorce is filed, the deposit stays with us. Delete this after you handle it. Trevor had not deleted it. He'd saved the voicemail because Grant later blamed him for accounting errors. When contacted by our attorneys, Trevor agreed to cooperate. He admitted Grant instructed him to alter contracts and upload false supporting documents. Trevor also admitted receiving a $5,000 bonus through Harper & Lane, returned the money and signed a sworn statement. Grant's version of an administrative mistake collapsed. The dispute ended through a settlement rather than a dramatic criminal trial that was more realistic and, in some ways, more painful. Grant agreed to repay Mercer Procurement $260,000 over 5 years. The frozen account was applied first. His remaining divorce installment was reduced. Under the reopened judgment, surrendered claims to several disputed personal assets, also signed an acknowledgement that I had never agreed to finance his wedding or business. Sloane's company repaid $45,000 and lost its preferred vendor status with several clients after the contract manipulation became known. The card issuer closed its fraud investigation after the hotel and company accepted restitution arrangements. The forged corporate guarantee was referred to authorities, but prosecutors offered Sloane a diversion agreement because no payment had been made under it and she had no prior record. She paid a fine, completed community service, and agreed not to contest the civil findings. Grant avoided a criminal conviction by accepting responsibility for falsifying company records and paying restitution, called the agreement proof that he had done nothing serious. Priya called it the best outcome available without spending 3 years in litigation. I accepted it. Justice did not always arrive as a courtroom confession. Sometimes it arrived as signed documents, monthly payments, and the permanent loss of the authority someone assumed would always belong to him. Grant and Sloane's marriage lasted 11 months. Their problems began before the wedding reception ended. Without the investors, the event venue business could not open. Without my account, Grant could not maintain the lifestyle he had promised. Sloan learned his divorce settlement was smaller than he described. Grant learned Harper and Lane carried more debt than Sloan admitted. Each had mistaken the other's access to my resources for independent success. They separated after Grant accused her of hiding invoices from him. Sloan responded that he had built their relationship on forged invoices. Their divorce was quiet, neither could afford another bellwether event. Patricia continued blaming me. She sent a Christmas card saying family forgiveness would help Grant rebuild. I mailed it back unopened. That surprised me. For years, I believed returning a letter was dramatic. Then I realized reading it out of obligation was another form of allowing someone into my home. Natalie's relationship with her father changed slowly. She did not cut him off. I did not ask her to. They met for lunch once or twice a month. She refused to lend him money. She refused to pass messages to me. When he complained about the settlement, she ended the conversation. Boundaries did not make her less loving, they made her love more honest. One afternoon, almost a year after the wedding, Natalie came to my office carrying a garment bag. Inside was the pale blue bridesmaid dress. What am I supposed to do with this? I asked. I thought we could donate it. To whom? There's a non-profit that provides formal clothes for women attending job interviews and graduation ceremonies. They can alter it. We drove there together. The volunteer at the donation center examined the dress. It's beautiful, she said. Natalie looked at me. It had an expensive beginning. The volunteer smiled. Then it can have a useful second life. That sentence stayed with me. Began thinking about my own second life. During my marriage, nearly every accomplishment had become part of Grant's story. My company won a contract. He described the dinner that secured it. We bought a home. He described the neighborhood he chose. I earned money. He described the risks he encouraged me to take after the divorce. I initially defined freedom as the absence of him. I changed the locks, closed accounts, replaced passwords, moved into the condominium, removed his name from emergency contacts. Those actions were necessary, but absence was not a complete life. Began playing piano again. Had studied for 12 years as a child and stopped after Natalie was born. The first time I sat at the small upright piano in my living room, my hands felt stiff. I played scales. Then a simple piece I remembered from high school. I made mistakes, and no one interrupted to take a phone call. No one asked why I was wasting time. No one needed the room for something more important. I played until the lake outside turned dark. Dana persuaded me to take a 2-week vacation. Not a conference attached to a weekend, not a client visit extended by one night. A vacation. Natalie and I traveled to Maine, stayed in a small inn where no one recognized my credit card, ate lobster rolls from paper trays and argued about whether to hike in the rain. One evening, we sat near the harbor watching boats return. Dad says you're dating someone, she said. I almost dropped my drink. Your father has no information about my private life. So that's a no? That is a none of your business. She grinned. I knew it. I had been having dinner with a man named David Chin, was a widowed architect I met through a hospital expansion project. Our relationship was new and deliberately slow. Our 4th date, he asked whether I wanted separate checks. The question was ordinary. It nearly made me cry. Grant had always grabbed the check, even when the card paying it belonged to me. David did not treat payment as theater, did not treat generosity as ownership. When I told him part of the story about the bellwether wedding, he did not say Grant was stupid to lose a wealthy wife. He said, it must have been exhausting to have every boundary turned into an accusation. That was when I began trusting him, not because he admired me, because he recognized the cost of what I had survived without reducing me to a victim. 2 years after the wedding, Mercer Procurement held its annual leadership dinner at the Bellwether Hotel. Dana suggested another venue, chose Bellwether. Avoiding it gave the building more power than it deserved. Thomas Reed still managed the hotel. He greeted me in the lobby. I'm glad this visit is under better circumstances, he said. So am I. Our company dinner occupied a modest private room overlooking the river. Floral walls, custom ice sculptures, invitation-only card displayed for effect. At the end of the evening, Thomas brought me the final statement. The charges matched the contract. Dana had already reviewed them, placed a regular corporate card on the tray. The account had a clear limit, automated alerts, and approval controls requiring 2 people for large expenses. Some executives considered those controls excessive. I considered them peaceful. Before Thomas walked away, he said, "May I ask you something?" "Of course." "Did your ex-husband ever apologize?" "No." "Does that bother you?" I thought about it, less than it used to. "Why?" "Because an apology would only matter if he understood what he took." Thomas nodded and left. Later that night, Natalie joined me in the lobby. She had recently become engaged to a physical therapist named Aaron, was kind, practical, and entirely unimpressed by expensive restaurants. Natalie sat beside me. Aaron and I picked a wedding date. I smiled. "When?" "Next June." "Do you have a venue?" "We're thinking about a botanical garden." "That sounds lovely." She pulled a folder from her bag. For 1 second, I thought of Grant's false statement, then she opened it. Inside was a draft budget: venue, food, flowers, music, photography. Each expense had a maximum amount. At the bottom, Natalie and Aaron had listed their savings and what they could contribute each month. "We can afford most of it," she said. "But we wanted to ask whether you would be comfortable helping with $15,000. She did not say I could afford more. She did not present a signed contract. She did not tell me other people would be humiliated if I refused. She asked, "What happens if I say no?" I said, "We reduce the guest list or wait another 6 months." "And you won't love me less?" She gave me a tired look. "Mom, I'm asking." "No. I will not love you less." I studied the budget. "I would like to contribute $15,000. Her eyes brightened. "Really?" "Yes. I'll pay the vendors directly after you and Aaron sign the contracts." "That's fair. And I want you to keep an emergency fund instead of spending every dollar you have." "We already planned one." She pointed to the final line. I felt unexpectedly proud. "Your father taught you something after all." I said, "What?" "How not to plan a wedding." We laughed. Natalie married Aaron the following June. The ceremony took place beneath an arbor covered in climbing roses. There were 72 guests. The food was excellent, the wine was affordable, and no one mistook the event for a business launch. Grant attended alone. He wore an older suit and sat beside Patricia in the second row. Sloane was not invited. David came with me. By then, we had been together for nearly 2 years. Before the ceremony, Grant approached us near the garden entrance. He looked at David, then at me. "You seem well." "I am. I heard the company expanded." "Yes." He placed his hands in his pockets. "I'm consulting now." Natalie had told me he worked with small event businesses on sales strategy. It was honest work when he performed it honestly. "I hope it goes well," I said. Grant looked toward the reception tent. "You helped pay for this?" I contributed what Natalie asked for. He smiled faintly. $15,000? I did not ask how he knew. "That's not much for you." The old sentence no longer hurt. It simply revealed that he had not changed enough. It was the amount she requested. I said, "You could have given her something extraordinary." "I did." He frowned. "What?" "The ability to ask without owing me obedience." David remained silent beside me. Grant looked away first. During the reception, Natalie danced with her father, who watched from my table. For a moment, I remembered the man Grant had been when she was born. He held our daughter in the hospital room and cried with his entire face. He'd loved her, still did. Love had not prevented him from using her. That was one of adulthood's hardest truths. Person could love you and still cause harm. Recognizing the harm did not require erasing every good memory. It required refusing to let good memories cancel present reality. Later, Natalie danced with me. "You okay?" she asked. "Yes." "Dad said something to you?" "He did." "Do I need to know?" "No." She studied me. "Are you protecting me?" "I'm deciding the conversation does not deserve more space." She smiled. "That sounds healthy." "I have professional help." When the photographer called for family pictures, Grant stood on one side of Natalie. I stood on the other. Aaron's parents joined us. David stepped back because he did not want to assume a place. Natalie reached for his hand. "David, you're in this one." He looked at me. I nodded. We stood together. not as a replacement family as the family that existed now. 3 years after the Bellwether incident, the final restitution payment arrived from Grant. Dana brought the notice into my office. "That's it," she said. "Paid in full." I looked at the amount. It was smaller than the first hidden invoice and larger than the last payment. For years, the debt had appeared on monthly reports. A line connecting my present company to an old Betrayal. Now the balance was zero. "What do you want me to do with it?" Dana asked. "Close the recovery account." She nodded. "And the money?" I thought about it, then I called Natalie. Together, we created a small emergency legal fund through a Chicago nonprofit serving women experiencing financial abuse during divorce. The fund paid for forensic accounting, credit reports, document review, and temporary financial counseling. He did not name it after me. He named it the Clear Account Fund. The first woman it helped was a 61-year-old nurse whose husband had opened credit cards in her name. The second was a restaurant owner whose spouse had hidden business debt during their separation. The third was a woman who believed financial abuse did not count because her husband had never hit her. Understood that belief. For years, I thought betrayal had to look dramatic before I was allowed to call it harm. A hotel room, another woman's earrings, a forged signature, those things were dramatic. But the damage had started earlier. It began every time Grant taught me that questioning him was disrespect, every time I removed a boundary to preserve his pride, every time my money became ours while his decisions remained his. The black card was only a symbol. Closing it did not end the pattern. I ended the pattern when I stopped accepting emergencies as substitutes for consent. On my 53rd birthday, David asked me to marry him. He did not propose at a luxury hotel. He asked in my living room after dinner while I was sitting at the piano. "I have a ring," he said, "but before I show it to you, I want to ask whether marriage is something you still want." I turned on the bench. "You rehearsed that for several weeks. What happens if I say I don't know?" "I keep loving you while you decide." He took a small box from his pocket but did not open it. "I don't need access to your company, your accounts, or your credit. I want a life with you. Those are different things." I began crying. David waited. He did not interpret tears as agreement. "Yes," I said. "Is that yes to seeing the ring or yes to marriage?" "Both." The ring was simple, a round diamond in a low setting that would not catch on piano keys. Before our wedding, we signed a prenuptial agreement. David had assets from his first marriage and adult children of his own. Discussed property, retirement, medical decisions, and inheritance. The conversations were not romantic in the traditional sense. They were honest. Honesty felt more intimate than any black card on a white tablecloth. Married at the condominium with 20 guests. Natalie stood beside me. Dana brought champagne. Priya attended and warned David that I had excellent representation. Thomas Reed sent flowers from the Bellwether Hotel with a note *** wishing you a celebration charged only to the people who approved it. ***. I laughed until my eyes watered. That evening, after the guests left, David found me standing near the windows. The city lights reflected across the lake. "You all right?" he asked. "Yes." "Any regrets?" "Only that Thomas's note was better than our vows. That can be corrected at the anniversary." He placed one hand beside mine on the glass, not over it, beside it. The difference was small. It was also everything. Years earlier, when the hotel told Grant his wedding account was closed, he believed the humiliation was the story. It was not. The story was not that my ex-husband's expensive wedding became smaller. It was not that his business failed or his marriage ended. It was not even that he had to repay the money. The real story was that an account I had once treated as proof of our shared success became the place where I finally drew a line. Grant believed closing the card meant I was taking something away from him. In truth, I was returning something to myself. My name, my judgment, my right to give freely. And my right to say no without becoming responsible for the disaster another person created. That night, David and I opened our wedding gifts. One package came from Natalie. Inside was a small wooden card box. The lid was engraved with a single sentence ***. Love is not an unlimited account ***. I ran my fingers across the words, then I looked at my husband. Your stepdaughter understands subtlety, I said. She gets that from you. No. I took years to learn it. I placed the box on the shelf beside our wedding photograph. The old black card was long gone. The account was closed, but for the first time in my life, my heart was not. It was simply protected by terms I had finally chosen for myself.
For more exciting content, please subscribe and follow us.